Hello, welcome to another edition of the Fifth Quarter. I'm Mike Ciarochi, sports editor of the Herald-Standard. I'm joined as always by memory lane author George Von Benko, also radio personality WMBS radio. George, we got a big game to talk about from yesterday and looking ahead to yet another Steelers football game this year.
The Steelers are going back to the Super Bowl. Eighth trip for the Steelers to the Super Bowl.
Third time in 8 years.
And I don't know about you. How many is this for you?
1, 2, 3. This will be my fourth.
This will be my
fourth as a reporter.
Yeah, this will be my eighth.
Oh, yeah?
Eighth Steelers Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah?
My 10th Super Bowl overall. So, but I'm a little older than you are, so.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, better looking, but a little older. Yeah. But I'll tell you, it was a strange ball game because I thought it was over at halftime.
Yeah.
Although I had that little voice in the back of my mind remembering what the Steelers did against Baltimore
the week
before.
Earlier. We thought it was over at halftime as well.
And it was just a tale of two halves, but the Steelers did enough in the second half to preserve the win.
Yeah. There's just so many things to pick out of this game. Something that stuck out to me at the end of the game as I was quickly finishing up my notes, quotes, and anecdote story. I always try to include the stat of the game, and just a quick look down at the final team statistics. One thing that jumps out to me is that the Jets outgained the Steelers by 2 yards for the game.
By 2 yards. Well, it illustrates the point I was going to make to you that you can't always. And I've said this many, many times, statistics do not always tell the story in any sport. If I would have told you before the ball game that Ben Roethlisberger's passer rating would be 35.1, he would have a rushing touchdown, he would be 10 of 19 for 133 yards, no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And on the other side of the coin, Mark Sanchez's passer rating would be 102 with 20 completions and 33 attempts, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, but he did have the one key fumble. If I would have told you those stats before the game, you would have probably thought, wow, the Steelers are in trouble.
Yeah, the Jets are blowing them out.
Yeah.
And besides that, Roethlisberger had lost a fumble. Actually, he recovered it, didn't he?
Yeah, they had 3 fumbles. They recovered all of them, but one led to a safety.
Yeah.
And boy, I was prophetic on that one too. I turned to Bill DeFavio after the Steelers had stopped it down to the goal line. I said, let's not do what we did,
what? My first comment was, I guess they're probably going to try to block Jason Taylor this time.
All right.
Which they may or may not.
They didn't need to block anybody. They just needed to hang on to the football.
Yeah.
And that's the other big thing. That Steeler offensive line, which is put together with baling wire and gum and tape and everything else, like loses Marquise Pouncey.
Right.
Legursky, Bronco Legursky, as Wolfley likes to call him, comes in, and they did have 2 fumbled exchanges, which is going to happen with a new center. But I thought that the offensive line played a pretty solid football.
Oh, yeah, exceptionally well. And I talked to a few of the offensive linemen after the game, including Flozell Adams, he's kind of a reluctant interviewer.
Yes, he is.
99% of the times.
He always tells me when I talk to him at practice, this is my downtime, man, I'm sleeping.
But he spoke about it. Kimoyatu spoke about it. I even talked to Ben real briefly on his way back through the locker room. It was their game plan was to come in and just take it to the Jets physically, set a tone early in the game with the running game, and kind of take it from there. And just make sure the Jets knew from the get-go that they were in for a tough
Well, there was definitely a plan in place because Bruce Arians had indicated to some of us last week that they planned to go off tackle and go as hard as they could. And Mendenhall, 27 carries, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, 4.5 yards a carry, which is really good. A 35-yard running as long as run. But Arians had indicated they wanted to run off tackle because they thought that they could get that off tackle. Plus, he said it, and he put it right on the line. He says their cornerbacks are not good against the run. They do not tackle very well.
Yeah. And you had mentioned Roethlisberger's numbers earlier. Mike Wallace really ran right by Darrelle Revis on a play, and believe it or not, it was a 50-some yard throw, a little bit underthrown, If that throws a little more on the rope, then the rod is really on.
I keep telling Ben, you got to air it out. You can't overthrow that guy. He can run under it, But no, I mean, Mike didn't have the greatest day.
No, Darrell Revis showed his ability to come back into the play and made the play on it. But be that as it may, the Steelers. Ironically, I made a couple of notes of the comparison between the halftime stats and the final stats in my stories. Now, we mentioned the Steelers as a team ran for 166 yards total. At halftime, they had run for 135 of those, so they were somewhat limited in the second half. Of course, 43. Let me see. Oh, they had a lot of carries. They had looks like 19 carries in the second half. Not very many yards. 30-some. What is that? 31 yards in the second half. But you know what? The Jets showed in the second half. They kind of got back to the basics. Maybe there was a little bit of excitement or whatever at the beginning of the game for them. They showed that they could play a little bit.
They showed that they could play. They still weren't able to run the football. They wound up with 70 yards, I believe, for the game on the ground. So the defense did its job. And I felt all along, and I said it, when we did the fifth quarter coming into the game, that even though he had great numbers, if they had to rely on Mark Sanchez chucking the football to win the game, they weren't going to win. I mean, that's just not going to be the recipe that's going to lead them to victory.
Right, and as abysmal as the Steelers' offense was in the second half, they made plays when they had to. The pass to Heath Miller on a 2nd and 9, I believe, and then the really
Brown.
Big one to Antonio Brown on a 3rd and 6 for a 14-yard. It really shows a lot of confidence that that Tomlin has in Arians and Arians has in the offense, as in Ben, really, to make plays when needed with the passing game.
Well,
the easy approach to that is, okay, we'll run it up in there a couple times, punt the ball, and leave it on our defense.
But they went for the jugular vein. They weren't playing. They weren't playing to lose.
Right. And it was a great comment by Coach Tomlin.
It really was. But getting back to Roethlisberger, a lot of people are going to say, "Well, you were wrong. It wasn't Ben that won." Yes, it was. I mean, it was Big Ben that won the game. And in 7, we do trust because he made the plays when he had to make the plays. The other thing is he really hurt them with his feet. He scored a touchdown, and he had a couple of big scrambles for first downs.
Right. One was the third and first possession of the game. The Steelers' first possession of the game. I'm guessing I think it was a 2nd and 12, or maybe a 3rd and 12. It was their first official third down conversion of the game. Let me see. It was a 3rd and 5, and he ran for 6. So, here it is. Here's a 3rd and 12. He scrambled for 12 yards on the same.
Right, but he hurt them with his. And I wondered about that because did you see the one play where he did the little option out to Mendenhall and he sort of stumbled funny and he got up and he was limping real bad. I don't know whether he was just trying to sucker them or not because he ran right after that.
No, he did mention after the game that he kind of tweaked something, but obviously wasn't much of an issue. And really, the winning points of the game, when you get right down to brass tacks, were scored by William Gay.
That's right. Ike Taylor sacked.
The secondary.
Gay played another strong game, I thought, and Ike Taylor coming off the edge. Nobody touched him, and he had a clean shot. Some people were wondering whether the arm, but it wasn't. It was clearly a fumble, and William Gay picked it up and ran for a touchdown. But I thought the secondary played a pretty good ball game once again.
Pretty good. They gave up some plays. Ike Taylor slipped on the pass to Santonio Holmes.
No question about it.
And I think it was Ike Taylor and Willie Gay were kind of talking to each other about what the heck happened on the touchdown pass to Jericho Cotchery.
Well, there was a pick. That play, Santonio Holmes picked off William Gay pretty good.
Well, they gave up some plays, but it's typical of the way the whole season seems to have gone for the Steelers. And Ben Roethlisberger alluded to it late last night. It's not always pretty with this team, but they always seem to make the plays necessary to win a game at the end.
Yeah, they did, and kudos to those linebackers because particularly Lamar Woodley was all over the field.
Yes, yeah, it was a great game for the defense. You know, we didn't hear the name Troy Polamalu very
No,
often.
he you know.
But he was out there playing a solid game. I mean, you know.
Let's put it this way: Jericho Cottrey remembers him.
Yeah.
On that one play when he was running up the sideline, he got leveled by Polamalu.
Try to look up these defensive stats here if I can find them, because I kind of piqued my curiosity as to where Polamalu is. Here he is, 5 tackles. Mm-hmm. A lot of them were after completions,
right?
But you don't see this as Coach Tomlin likes to call them, the splash plays that Troy has.
And Timmons had 9 tackles.
Yes,
combined for 10.
Yeah.
But look at those linebackers: Timmons, Farrier, Harrison. Woodley was he only had 4 combined tackles, but it seemed like he was everywhere. I mean, they really played well. And how about Brett Kiesel?
Yeah, oh yeah, he's all over the place. You know, his wife's probably a little disappointed. The beard lives another 2 weeks. She can't wait for him to get rid of it.
Well, he promised to give the hair to Bill DeFabio. He told him
that'll be a good start.
He told him that in practice last week. Yeah,
that'll give him a good start on a head of hair.
Yes.
Another defensive stat that jumps out. It's jumping out to me right now, but as I think back, it was such a key play. There were such key plays in the game where the batted down passes at the line of scrimmage by Casey Hampton. The big snack comes up with one. Lamar Woodley had one. Kiesel had one, and so did Timmons. Mm-hmm. 4 passes that
and you don't know what if it gets by them. You don't know where they're going. If it gets by somebody, it could be a big play.
Oh yeah, you put those onto Sanchez's stats, and he goes from 20 out of 33 to 24 out of 33, and who knows how many yards you add to the 233 he passed for. So those are key plays, and I'm 99% sure most of those came in the first half.
I want to get back to Rashard Mendenhall very quickly, too, because he came in for a great deal of criticism, particularly from Sports Illustrated's Peter King, who really ripped him for his running style and hit the hole. And I'll tell you, he was running downhill, particularly in that first half.
I'm not so sure that Peter King ripped him as much as he refused to include him among the elite running backs in the league. There's a bit of a difference there, and I'm not sticking up for the writer, but
you writers all stick together.
Yeah, but if you read the words as they are printed or put on the internet or whatever, that's all he was doing, was saying that he's not among the elite backs in the league, and here's why. And now he disproved a lot of the things that Peter King said yesterday, which is a tribute to him.
Well, I hope Peter says something bad about it going into the Super Bowl, too. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, and I wonder, too, I know that you don't go into a game, the Steelers didn't go into this game wanting to run the ball because the Jets had success running the ball against them. But there is a sort of a pride issue with any defense that, wait, these guys got 100 yards on us last time. We can't let that happen again. And it kind of, the reverse kind of came into play where the Steelers were the ones effective with the running game, built themselves a nice lead, and were able to hold off the Jets in the end. But, after giving up, I believe it was 106 yards?
106 yards the first
time they held them to 70 yards. I don't have the other stats in front of me, but 22 carries is about right. You get Sean Green with 9. LaDainian Tomlinson with 9 carries. They would probably like to have that number up around 15.
Yes, they would.
15 to 20 each.
Well, we're coming to the end of this edition of the Fifth Quarter. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl in our next edition of Fifth Quarter. We should mention the Packers did beat the Bears in the NFC Championship game. It was a weird game, too.
It was.
Because it looked like Green Bay was rolling, and then they did absolutely nothing in the second half.
Right. Well, the Bears defense showed up a little bit. In that game, I kept waiting for it to go from 14-0 up to 21-0, 28-0, blah blah blah. And the Packers defense is very formidable. I could see them posting a shutout.
And we've got storylines galore with the Packers because of Mike McCarthy from Greenfield. It's going to be 2 storied franchises. I mean, the Packers had 4 Super Bowls under their belt. The Steelers have 6. 2 great franchises.
Yeah. The greatest, probably the 2 most storied franchises in the history of the league are going to be butting heads down in Dallas. Jerry Jones's new ball yard.
His new playpen.
Okay, but this wraps up this edition of the Fifth Quarter. and we'll see you next week for a preview of Super Bowl 45.